Tonight, NASA's new era of space exploration to the moon and beyond is officially underway. After several failed attempts, a key test rocket of the Artemis mission has blasted off toward the moon. This test is the first step in a historic mission that one day will put the first woman on the moon and hopefully astronauts on Mars. Gio Benitez reports.
It's been more than half a century since we pioneered a way to the moon.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
In 6 remarkable missions under the Apollo program, America landed 12 men on the lunar surface and changed the very nature of what humans are capable of.
There's a huge sequence of events that has to happen. It really changes their perspective on everything.
It's a dream come true.
Overnight, after 3 delays since August, a major breakthrough in space exploration.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
And it will push the bounds of humanity and our place in the cosmos.
You're answering questions that just really haven't been answered before.
Everybody is just focused, but also excited to be where we are.
This time, we're going to the moon to stay. NASA's goal is to establish a permanent moon base that will be the gateway to Mars and beyond.
We're going to the lunar South Pole, where we're hoping to find in-situ resources that we can use. We're planning to set up a base camp there on the surface of the moon and develop technologies and operational practices that will set us up to go further on to Mars.
And a next-generation space race is brewing, this time not between the U.S. and Russia, but NASA, SpaceX, and China's secretive moon mission. All that starts with NASA's first Artemis test flight that will send an uncrewed spacecraft around the moon to ensure all systems are go before the first mission with astronauts aboard in 2024. To get there, NASA will be using its highly anticipated Space Launch System, or SLS. It's the world's most powerful rocket, 36 stories high, and exceeds the mighty Saturn V of the Apollo program in many ways.
We have a lot going on, but we need to stop and be in that moment and celebrate that success, because the team that makes that possible, they've been working on this for years.
Years of work to design a spacecraft like the Orion crew capsule, the mission's human-rated module that can support up to 4 astronauts.
This system is a blend of technologies. It utilizes material systems that have heritage all the way back to the Apollo era. Very similar chemistry. Physics are still the same 50 years later.
The only difference is the size. Apollo 3 astronauts, our vehicle can carry 4.
And when all that rocket fuel ignites, well, you know what comes next.
The rocket takes off, we eject the solid rocket boosters, the launch abort system comes off Orion. The whole rocket is trying to get these 2 pieces into Earth orbit. So just one lap around the Earth. Checking them both out, our mission control will make sure everything's healthy. We're committed to the moon after only 90 minutes. Right after that, Orion is going to separate from the upper state, and Orion will continue on its way to the moon.
The journey will take Orion 3 days before it reaches the moon in the quiet of space. On future Artemis missions with astronauts aboard, Orion will link up with a dedicated lunar station in orbit around the moon called Gateway.
The Gateway is going to be a lunar outpost around the moon. It will be a permanent space station.
Here, astronauts will be able to transfer from the Orion capsule to their lunar lander spacecraft and maintain strong communications with Earth.
We bring an Orion vehicle in that drops off the crew, and then we have the lander, right? 4 crew will come up in Orion, 2 will stay on Gateway, 2 will go down to the surface.
Designed to be expanded, the station can add more modules if and when new missions and partnerships develop.
For many years, we've had this wonderful, global presence with our International Space Station. Gateway gives us an opportunity to create a permanent lunar presence and continue that international cooperation.
The Gateway Station will also be capable of adjusting its orbit to allow access to all regions of the moon, something the Apollo missions could not do.
Behind us, we've got the Halo module that's actually being built by Northrop Grumman. This right here is our training module that will go over at the Johnson Space Center for our crews.
The station is still here on Earth, with an expected launch no sooner than November of next year. For this first test flight, the Orion capsule will simply gather data on deep space radiation levels as it orbits the moon's surface from a close distance.
So we're going to do a close approach of the moon. We'll only be about 60 miles from the surface of the moon.
The Orion capsule will also fly by the dark side of the moon, where it will break the max distance record of a human-rated spacecraft set by Apollo 13 in 1970. From there, it's a careful trek back to Earth. The capsule will be traveling at 32 times the speed of sound and will need to slow down. A gigantic heat shield protects everything inside from re-entry temperatures that exceed 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's very effective at isolating heat and rejecting the heat of re-entry, even at those energy levels, and protecting the spacecraft and the crew.
Parachutes finally deployed to bring the craft to a comfortable 20 miles per hour for touchdown off the coast of San Diego. This first Artemis mission is expected to take 42 days to complete.
This mission being successful is a sign to the world and to the American people that we've been doing our best with your resources, and so thank you. We owe them that.
And while no humans are on board the Orion capsule just yet, candidates at NASA are busy preparing for a lunar mission in the near future, performing tasks and exercises in one of the world's deepest pools to mimic lunar conditions for astronauts. The Artemis program will put the first woman and person of color on the moon and lay the foundation for crewed missions to Mars and beyond.
I love any opportunity we have to work together and cooperate, and it kind of puts us above, space above it all. And something I've heard every astronaut I've talked to and asked about their time in space has said when they look back at Earth and see how fragile it is and how beautiful and wonderful it is, it really changes their perspective on everything.
60 years after that iconic JFK speech.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace.
A new hope about the promise and possibility of space to unite us once again.
And as we leave the moon and towards Lithium, we leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return.